Hello, my name is J.S. Meyrand. I am a lecturer at Kyoto Sangyo University. I am a graphic designer, a conceptual visual artist. I do research creation with the Japanese language. The main argument that I want to put forth here is that research creation via Japanese ideographic language, RC-JIL, holds art and design education potential. To support this argument, this presentation will detail one example, which is the exhibition I did in 2010 in Kyoto, and I will transition after that to the RC-JIL system at the end. So this is what the exhibition looked like on both walls. It was selected by the Kyoto Prefecture to be shown in one of their galleries. It has 14 digital prints, and they are accompanied by box caption paintings. The first element is the context, and the context is me. Basically, it is my perceptions as an expatriate in Japan. I grew up in Quebec City, Canada. Living there is like living in a bubble. The province, living in that province is having the sentiment of being special, but at the same time you're in the need of protecting identity and language. Since England won over New France in the 18th century, the French language has survived. There are now laws protecting language, and that shaped a lot of my early identity, language identity. Even the expression tourist. I remember when I was young, we would say like, "Look at that tourist," meaning like, "Look at that person who doesn't understand." The person using English was seen as somewhat negative and perhaps even foolish. That bubble of having this defiant Anglophone, surrounded by Anglophone situation kind of broke when I lived in San Antonio, Texas for a year. And of course, my first experience to learn the language going there, learning English was hard, but what it did the most was just open me up to the world, and it created another bigger bubble, but this one was more elastic and curious. I studied in Montpellier, France, also for 1 year when I was studying architecture, and of course, language is the same as in Quebec. It's French, but not being understood when you were ordering. When I was ordering a sandwich was kind of difficult, and still, I think about those moments as you know, uh, being confronted with again language identity that isn't understood by someone else. So this duality feeling was still there even in a country that spoke my language. I've been in Japan for 15 years, and since I came here, everything changed. At the beginning, I knew nothing. I started from scratch, knew nobody, knew perhaps 10 words, no relationships. So it was very hard, but I wouldn't be here talking to you today if it wasn't for this superb experience. As we can see, I'm a big spaghetti of blurred borders, uh, mixed up, but very enriching experiences that have been imprinted on in me, and it is quite blurry, but that was the driver of this exhibition. So when we look into humanities research on identity and gender identity research, we can understand this what I call blurry as something that is more of a hyphen. And one researcher called Christou informs us about recollecting and reconstructing, creating and recreating a life, and it documents second generation Greeks that intentionally returned to Greece, and these people find themselves as hybrids where identity is hard to pinpoint, and she writes, the hyphenated experience becomes a living and lived space where identity is constructed. So when she's talking about the hyphenated space, I relate to that as the vagueness of belonging, and visiting Canada when since being in Japan, I visit Canada almost every year, and every time I go back, even though I am Canadian, I I feel that the Japan imprint has made me feel like I go back to Canada and I'm not completely home. I'm home, but I'm not. Uh, and being in Japan, living in Japan, although I have a very young daughter and I'm married, I still feel I'm not completely accepted by everybody. Obviously, I'm in a minority. I'm not Japanese. I don't look Japanese. I don't look Asian. I have a vague sense of belonging, and uh, that's what led to the idea of ambiguity and misunderstanding, understanding, misunderstanding. What's language? What's uh, uh, what are words? This question is very ambiguous, and looking at these two here, you see the word words, and on top or under, you see kotoba, which means word. What are they? Are they kissing, or are they fighting each other here? Are they showing off, hiding? Hard to say. This idea of ambiguity, vague sense of belonging, led to the concept of the show, which was black, blank. One word in two, or two in one. Black on white, or white and black. Uh, these two ideas in one kind of sums up the idea of doubt versus or with confidence, uh, full or empty. And from these reflections, I constructed the exhibition's narrative. These words are basically words that reflect, or the words that I chose that reflect my kind of hyphenated experience, as Christo would talk about. These words guided the image that I chose for the exhibition, and this in turn led to the visual design exploration with RC-JIL system. So this next section is taking you through that RC-JIL process. From the narrative, I chose the idea in between to show you today. In between, or middle, or inside, is represented by this character. You see that it's written like this. It has 4-stroke, 1, 2, 3, 4, and it's a pictographic type character, which means it's directly related to an object in the environment. And here, this object is a flag, and we see this at the beginning of the evolution of the character. It's a flag on a flagpole, and basically, long story long story short, in the Shang Dynasty, when they were at war, there were 3 armies, where you had the left, the middle, and the right army, and the general that would march forward to wage war was in the middle, and when he would wave this flagpole with streamers on it, they would advance, and that became a way to transmit this idea of middle. So from this type of etymology interpretation of kanji characters, I basically make iterations, many iterations. These are just a few of the hundreds that I made, and that's the process of reading, interpreting, outputting, selecting, transferring, is what I did for this exhibition, and what I do for a lot of the visual conceptual art that I engage in. And here the caption was a box, a caption box that again evokes ambiguity, because is it a caption? Is it a painting? Is it a title? There's three words on it. Is it English, French, Japanese? Obviously, it has many sides, so we can't see all at once. The painting on the top is a sketch that overlaps basically three sides, so we can never see all of it. Again, evoking this vague nature of this never 100% visible type of object. With the digital print, this image, a huge metallic installation located near the St. Lawrence River in Quebec City, is somewhere where people can sit in, and it's funny because it's literally in the middle of a huge park. So again, it goes with the idea of middle, and uh, each of the digital prints, I basically uh, painted a whole section black. What's in there in that black? What is this space that we can't see? What's in there? What is hidden? What can I see? What can't I see? Are all questions that I hope that the viewer would ponder about and try to imagine with. So to conclude the exhibition part, I'm gonna do that with a quote. Home now locations promotes new ways of seeing reality. So for me, that's what is striking here. And uh, to summarize uh, this whole system of trying to see new ways in reality is uh, the input you have, whatever it is. It's a word, it's a concept that you have, and this you associate it with a Japanese kanji character, and you mix that with shapes, semantics, etymology. You can choose one, you can choose many, you can mix with them, you interpret, you learn, you can explore to have an output. RC-JIL, a new tool for art and design education? Is this possible? As per this system, RC-JIL, wouldn't it be more stimulating and culturally informative to and for students and learners, educators, to learn and create through JIL, the RC-JIL system? I mean, in these days, the globalization, the shifts in educational strategies, wouldn't it be relevant to learn and try to create with RC-JIL? I believe that this type of content could be associated to kanjis and learn more deeply about words and see it from a different perspective. This would lead to new connections and perspective and output, I believe. One example of those could be a course on Japanese visual culture. Its content would be Rekishi, Imi, Shodo, Bunka, reflecting on the concept of history via RC-JIL would certainly give another layer to our own view of what is history. Obviously, it's something that's in the past, but if you look at the characters, what does that mean? What could that also give you as a new way of viewing it? Obviously, this is related to Japanese culture, but what if your course or a course content wouldn't be related to Japanese culture or Japan? This quote, I'm a big believer in it. This is Sawyer who wrote this, but it's very similar to Michael Michalko's forcing connection concept in his Thinker Toys. And yes, I am of the opinion that RC-JIL system could be pushed to content unrelated to Japanese culture. For example, a course on art and the environment. You have readings of the influence of pollution on art, or inversely, art on pollution. What's pollution? What is pollution? What is your idea of pollution? Two words: gray smoke, cigarette butts in the street, plastic in the ocean. So, as John Holcroft's depiction here, I mean, you could have a similar type of impression that you would want to give on an audience about pollution. Uh, but what if we looked at the concept of pollution plus kanji characters? Osen, meaning pollution in Japanese. You have two characters, dirty, of course, pollution, we see that dirty. However, the idea of dyeing uh, a fabric or your hair perhaps isn't necessarily related to pollution. That's what I'm talking about, is perhaps giving a new way of seeing this word pollution. How can you interpret that with these two ideas? Now, we haven't looked into what they mean, their etymology, but you can see their shape and you can work with that to work visually. So what's the output? What could be the learning? Uh, so perhaps RC-JIL, yes, is a new layer, perhaps for art and design and education. And this, for me, is the next step, seeing how a student population would react to this type of information and knowledge. How would they want to grow from it, if it's possible? Uh, I hope to have the chance to elaborate on this idea in the future. If you would like to collaborate with me on implementing RC-JIL with your students, please do let me know. Conclude my presentation on an Ralph Waldo Emerson quote. Moving between the two. Let's do that. Let's exchange, discuss, go back and forth, and hope we can engage on this topic. And I look forward to your comments. Thank you very much for listening, and I hope to talk with you soon. Thank you very much to the organizers of the 17th Conference of the Arts and Society for your hard work and the chance that you gave me to participate, contribute to the arts research community. I hope to inspire and stimulate at least one person. Thank you very much.